And we're live. Hello, you guys. We are so excited to be here. Carly, Allie, and we have the finance money mindset expert with us in the house from Texas, Ashley from Pretty Penny. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm so excited to be here, talk a little bit about money, accounting, mindset, all the above. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This is such a powerful topic. This is something that Carly and I have put such a big emphasis on in growing your business, yourself, and your wealth. For anyone watching, I think that that's such a powerful and poignant thing to really focus on when you're wanting to grow and scale in life and in business. So finding people to access like Ashley that has, this is a specific niche in which she really specializes in. So getting to focus in on that and hear from her and really get to learn it up. So love the engagement coming through already. Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. If you are watching the replay, you're going to get a ton of value from this, and we'll be able to share how you can access Ashley after this call as well. So Ashley, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. If you can maybe dive into a little bit of your story, how you got into this. And I think sometimes people get overwhelmed and afraid of money. And especially when it comes to accounting and all of those kind of the numbers, they're just like, oh gosh, I don't know if I even want to face that. And even just looking at your bank account sometimes. So how did you become someone who is passionate about this and really turning people's mindsets around when it comes to these sort of kind of taboo topics that people are like, oh, we don't want to talk about money, but it's like, hey, let's shout it from the rooftops, be confident about it so we can lead in our finances.
That's such a great thing to start out with, because I really feel like a lot of people are afraid to look at the numbers and afraid to look at their business finances. So rewind back to when I was in college, I started off with an architect degree, thought that's the route I wanted to go. And after about a year, realized that absolutely was not the place that I was supposed to be. So I switched over to accounting. And I just remember this fear of being an accountant and being that person that nobody wanted to talk to because nobody likes looking at their accounting. Nobody gets, in my mind, I was like, nobody gets excited about having to meet with their accountant. It's almost like a visit to the principal's office. And so I remember thinking, okay, if I'm going to go into this field, I'm going to have to do it in my way and make it fun and kind of get away from that principal's office type feeling. So after college, I went to go work for a CPA firm, and it was this really forward thinking, techie kind of CPA firm. And I just learned so much about how we can help small business owners by helping them understand their finances and really gain a passion for seeing the transformations that were made in those small businesses once they understood the numbers in their business and could get excited about them. So I was also raised by entrepreneurs. And so all growing up, it's really, you really get to see the struggles and the triumphs and kind of everything in between whenever your parents are entrepreneurs and they're small business owners. And so now I have such this perspective of just wanting to help people who have that entrepreneurial spirit and want to grow a business, want to chase after something that they're passionate about. And I really just truly believe that understanding the financial side of your business is just as important to your success as the quality of what you sell, the customer service that you provide, and all of the above. So just really passionate about that small business success.
So are we.
Yes.
I feel like that's such a big part of how we want to grow and scale in life and business is stepping into being self-employed and really working for yourself, working for your own dream, building your own, stability. And Carly and I are huge proponents of multiple revenue streams. So often we're so dependent on that one job, that one income source, and God forbid something happens to that, then it feels like everything can fall to shambles. So we are big supporters of really pursuing different endeavors and being brave in your life to really show up and take that big step forward. But for a lot of people, we can stay a little bit stuck in what we know because it's such a conformative society. Everyone was kind of raised very similarly. I mean, again, I was raised by entrepreneur parents, so it's kind of like, do anything you want to do. Sure, you want to start a business? Do it. And a lot of people are like, this is scary and I never want to step outside of the box. And I think a lot of that comes down to mindset. So I'd love if we could kind of pivot into that. Let's talk money mindset.
Absolutely. So we're going to dig really into money mindset, but you said something earlier that I want to touch on. And part of that has to do with having this this wealth mindset and really changing your mindset around money whenever you become a small business owner, whenever you step away from being an employee of a business and step into the role of being a business owner, there's a lot of mindset shifts that have to come with that. As an employee, we think in terms of, I'm going to work this many hours and this is what I'm going to get paid for the amount of hours that I'm going to work. And it's very much a mindset of, if I put in more time, I will make more money. Whenever we're business owners, we really have to shift into thinking of, how many people can I serve? When I chase doing what I love doing, I can serve more people. And if I set my business up correctly, then I can serve more people and therefore make more money. So it's not necessarily a trade of time for money. There's a lot of things that you can do with passive income and really to scale. It's really a shift in mindset when you go from being an employee to a business owner.
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree with that.
So jumping kind of back then to money mindset. So your mindset around money really is what determines the decisions that you make around saving, spending, investing. Any decisions that you make around money subconsciously are based on your mindset. So when you are telling yourself, even if you don't really realize that you have a scarcity mindset, when you're telling yourself, I can't afford that, there will never be more money, I'm too scared to invest. When you have this fear around money, then you don't make plans for your goals and you don't invest in yourself. And without investing in yourself, you can't grow. Yeah. So instead of really protecting yourself with that scarcity money mindset, you're holding yourself back. And this is coming from an accountant who is like all about budgeting. So the last thing that I'm telling people to do is spend like a millionaire before you are one, or spend money that you don't have. Definitely don't do that. But having an abundance mindset, which is the opposite of that scarcity mindset, having that abundance mindset is thinking, I make money when I do what I love. There will always be more opportunities. When I invest in myself, it pays off. I'm grateful for the money that I have. I have everything that I need to chase after my dreams. And when you continue to tell yourself that, then you will say yes to opportunities. You will start to make plans for the goals that you want. You will invest in yourself and work hard to make sure that that investment pays off. So it almost turns you into more of a proactive person when it comes to money rather than just a reactive. In that scarcity mindset, we almost don't realize it, but when we have a scarcity mindset, we spend really irresponsibly because we're not giving every dollar a job and planning things out, planning for the goals that we have. We just think, oh, I feel like I don't have any money. Okay, now I have a little bit of money in my account. I'm going to go spend it on something that's not going to help me grow. It's almost like we do this unconsciously. So really changing that internal narrative helps you plan and spend wisely.
I was just going to say one quick thing about money mindset is I thought that I had a pretty decent money mindset, but my bank account was flush. And so I just assumed like, oh, well, I've been really successful in my business. I, earned over $100,000 in the online space at that point. And I was like, yeah, like this is great. But inside, I still had that scarcity mindset thinking it was going to go away at any time. Right. And it wasn't until I actually invested in a course to really help me change and shift my money mindset that I started to realize all of the, like you were talking about, that subconscious sort of programming from a child that had come with me. Even when I was making really good money, more money than I'd ever had, I still felt so afraid of it. And then once I had that shift, I felt so much more abundant, so much more secure. And I let go and trusted that there's always going to be money. There's always going to be a way for me to protect and take care of my family. And I don't need to be so tight-lipped because I didn't really spend irresponsibly. I was the opposite, where I was just like so, yes, like, no, my husband would want to spend things. I'm like, no, we're not spending anything. I was just like hoarding it. I'm a bit of a hoarder. So I'm so thankful to be out of that scarcity mindset for sure.
And that's such a good point to make. So sorry, that's such a good point to make about the scarcity mindset isn't just about spending irresponsibly. Also, is sometimes you want to hold on to everything because you're so scared to lose it, when really if you're spending in the right places, it's going to help your business so much.
Yes. And I think too, like Carly, you had just said this as well, but your childhood, like the way that your parents speak about money, the way that you as a child, if you heard a lot, like, we can't afford that, or, we don't talk about money, or, money has become such a taboo topic. Everyone feels uncomfortable saying anything about money. And a lot of it stems from how your parents spoke to you about money and the fluidity between being open and sharing versus hush, 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 like we don't say that around other people, that thing can then translate into then how you treat money as an adult without you even knowing it. You kind of adopt the money mindset that you were exposed to as a child. Have you found that?
Absolutely. I mean, definitely how we were raised impacts so much that we think about, but money is a huge one. And I think that sometimes can be even harder to realize because you think, well, that's just kind of how my parents were. So that's how I am. And, I just am really tight on my budget and things like that. But you really have to rethink how you think about money and really dig down and figure out what your motivators are and make sure that you're not thinking of money out of a scarcity mindset.
Yes. Yeah. Now, from the money mindset and then business. So this is where, we were just talking about this off camera, but a scarcity loop. So it's like, okay, I want to become an entrepreneur, but then that means spending money on a business, but then that means I'm going into debt, but then am I getting ahead by going behind? And then we kind of get into this, like, I want to move forward, but does that mean going back? Like, it's this loop that we kind of get stuck in of wanting a change, but then kind of being held back into old beliefs.
Right. Being scared to take that step, being scared to invest is absolutely a scarcity loop. So, we've all heard the saying, you have to spend money to make money, but really that is true. You just want to make sure you're spending money the right way and you're not just throwing money at different things, hoping that something's going to land and then you're going to become rich off of it. Right. So, really to get out of that scarcity loop of trying to figure out when is the right time to move forward and getting kind of back into that negative self-talk is to switch your mindset. And first of all, switch your mindset into that abundance mindset and really think of things like, I need to say yes to opportunities that are going to be good for myself and good for my business. That includes investing and trust in yourself. I mean, gosh, that's a huge one that you learn as a business owner is like, you've got to trust in your own intuition. You have to trust in your own decisions that you're going to make because your gut will tell you if something's a little fishy. But you do need to figure out what your dream life looks like and then figure out how you need to get there. What do you need to add into your life in order to achieve what that is that you want to achieve? What do you need to invest in? What even non-tangible things do you need to add in? And then what do you need to get rid of that's holding you back?
I like that you said get rid of too, because sometimes we need to walk away from things, even if they are a positive thing. That's what I like to remind people is eliminating things from your life doesn't mean that you're eliminating all the negative. You're just eliminating certain things that are not serving you in that moment. So a great example is, maybe you are helping out volunteering at your kid's school, and that's such a valuable piece. But maybe right now, to be able to allocate more of your time and resources, money, whatever, you need to prioritize other areas of your life. You can always come back to that when you have a different stage in your life. So it's not about eliminating negative things out of your life. That's one piece of it, but it's also eliminating or reducing things that just aren't serving you at that moment. And I think back to even like a subscription to a really amazing health food shake that I used to get. I couldn't afford to have it anymore. I needed to allocate that money into my business, that $150 a month. So I canceled that subscription. Now I could easily do that again. You know what I mean? But at the time I had to reallocate and invest in myself, and I needed to pull money from things, even though it was still a positive thing in my life.
Yeah. And one thing too, like just in terms of like debt versus investment. So lots of times, so like we said, like businesses do cost money. Like there isn't a single person out there that you can start something for free and then you earn tons of money. Like I think that I don't know that system exists. I don't know what that business is. But whether you're a franchisee, a small business owner, whether you have a brick and mortar, whether you're starting something online, in some capacity, in order to start a business, even if it's just to run paid Facebook advertising, to get your computer set up, your internet, like everything does require some sense of funding to kind of move and push something forward. But so often we have this association that if I spend money, I'm going into debt, versus when you're in a business model, like if I spent money on my water bottle, that's not giving me a return. It's giving me a way to sip water into my life, but I'm not getting anything from this. Versus from a business, it's just, again, a mindset thing. But can you kind of differentiate between like that, I'm going into debt versus I'm making an investment in myself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said it well, kind of when you pulled up your water bottle, but you have to think of everything in um, how much return you're going to get on that investment. So whenever, like, just like you said, whenever you are planning to start your business or whenever you're in those starting phases, there is a lot of things that need to be, a lot of things that money need to be spent on in order to grow. And you just want to think about it in a way of, okay, let me start here. If you had $1,000 in debt and you were
Yes.
kind of paying down this debt and you're thinking, okay, should I, and I have this extra $500. Should I put that $500 towards the debt that I owe? That's $1,000. Or should I put this $500 towards a business or towards invest into my business? That's going to give you such a greater return than the little bit of percent of interest expense that you're going to pay down this debt.
Yeah.
So the return on investment whenever you're thinking about investing into your business is so much greater than the way we think about paying down debt. Or even like if you have money in a savings account, it's getting a couple percent interest or whatever, it's very small. But like the return that you get when you're investing in your business is so incredibly, so much greater.
Not to mention it's tax write-off. Like that's the cool thing about if you're investing in a course or products or increased internet or a new phone, new camera, whatever it is, if you can prove that it is helping you for your business, then that is deductible for your. So for taxes, it comes around. So it's not like you've got this $500 and you're buying a TV that you cannot write off unless maybe you had it in your office or something when you're doing demonstrations. Yeah, you could do that. But there's often very strategic ways to write things off. But for the most part, you're not just like, that's such a great question to ask. Is it moving me forward? What's the return on investment? Like if you buy a new TV with that $500, where's that going to get you in life versus maybe you put $500 into doing a course or paid advertisements or starting a business or whatever it is. Like that return is so much greater, right? Like I just love that question.
Yeah, because I think people get so fixated on being debt free before starting any endeavors because we carry this debt guilt. Guilt around having an old student loan or having any capacity of credit card debt. I'm trying to think about other debt, car loans, things like that. And so we're like, oh, I've got to pay all this off before I ever invest in a business. But if you had just spent the $500 on a business that could have then garnered you return, now you're making another stream of revenue that then could also then help to pay down your debt versus just that extra $200 or $300 a month. Slow happening here. Why not put that $200 or $300 into a business? Then now I'm making $500 or $600 or $1,000 a month off that $300 investment that I then now have to return onto my debt. Like I think again, it's a loop people get stuck in because they get so fixated on this debt guilt. Like it happens and then they just are stuck in this paralyzed in fear of actually moving forward into the business.
Yeah, and you're exactly right of if you would just invest in the business and you trust in yourself that you can make it in your business, the money that you're going to make is going to pay down your debt so much faster than if you're just taking all the little pennies that you have and trying to pay down that debt. So it's not about, it's not about waiting until first of all, there's never going to be the perfect time to start anything, right? Like there's never going to be everything's in line, all your debt's paid off, everything's perfect. Now's the time to start. That's never going to happen. So you really just have to trust yourself and push forward. The money will come and you will be able to pay off the debt that you have if that's what's holding you back. And I think, you had mentioned earlier about getting rid of the health shakes in order to invest that money into your business. And I think that the things that hold people back are money and time. And if you really sat down and did a time audit of what you spend your time doing, and then did the same thing with a money audit and really sat down and looked at what all am I spending my money on, you'd be so surprised how many coins you will find in that couch, how much money you will find on things that aren't really necessary, or maybe you really enjoy having, but you could do without them for a little bit and invest in the business. And the same thing with your time. There's things that you could cut out. I had like almost a whole year period where I really rarely watched TV because I was really fixated on growing my business. And I just decided that's what I'm going to trade. That's the time. That's the only time that I have. That's my free time. That's just kind of what I'm going to trade. So there's a lot that we think we don't have time and we don't have money, when really, if we do an audit, even for like a day or a week, really audit our time and audit where our money is going, you'll find spaces that you can use. and money that you can use for sure.
Yes. I think too, sometimes we look at lump sum amounts as like, whoa, that seems like so much money. Like if it was like $500 for a business, say like a starting point. And it's like, oh my God, that's so much money. But then, yeah, if you take, if you canceled your, cable bill, even for a few months, we don't need TV, guys. You can get Netflix for $10 a month, but like cable bills are expensive. Like that could be a lot of money just to have a few channels on your TV. Or like, Starbucks. Well, I just get Starbucks. Well, that's just $6 a day. But then 6 times 30 times a year, that's a lot of money that you spend on a coffee. Or, I just went out for lunch with the girlfriends. That was $30. Then I had dinner with my husband on Friday. That was $100. Then I had wine with the girls. That was like, if you take all the little extra things, and I did that one month, and I was like, oh, I really treat myself quite a bit on a lot of unnecessary items. And it was actually became really easy, like you said, if I do an audit, to come up with this money that you think that you don't have, but really you're just allocating it in small little increments in so many other little places that sometimes you don't even realize how many holes are in your bank account, where it's just kind of draining out in like micro areas in a bunch of different places. So when we see one amount, it seems like, whoa, this is going to be this big deficit, but it can really pull from so many other places.
Yeah. And I'm all about like treat yourself, but there are seasons for that. And there are seasons to really scale back, right? Like there's seasons to just scale back on treating yourself and treat yourself in a different way.
Yeah.
Now,
Ashley, I love that we've already kind of dove into this topic of, debt versus savings versus investing, all of these different things. So I know that you have a wealth of knowledge, pun intended, when it comes to saving and really leveraging your finances and scaling. So what are some tangible things that people can do right now? So a spending audit is a really great thing for people to go through and list out and go through your credit cards, because there's little fees that maybe you didn't even realize you were getting charged, different things. I've called my credit card company and been like, hey, can you lower my interest rate? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. You've been a great customer for how many years? Sure. We'll knock it down to 11% from 19. You're like, what? I didn't have to do anything. Yeah. Or like tough times are upon us for a lot of people. There's a lot of banks that are willing to negotiate with you and have some lenience, but sometimes we just have to do the work and ask. So taking an audit and really kind of getting a good picture of your finance is a really great way to, start looking at what you have for money and savings. What would be some other things that people can tangibly do? So we've got mindset, we've got audit. What are some other suggestions that you would say, and you can take it whatever direction, whether it's investing or savings, debt payoffs, whatever you think?
Yeah, so I think putting together some kind of business plan is really going to give you the best idea of how much money you need to get started. If you've already started, how much money that you still need to grow. And if you have money coming in, you want to make sure you're giving all of that money $1. Part of that is putting money in savings, reinvesting back into your business, and making sure that you're setting yourself up right for taxes. So really, I feel like people don't want to look at their numbers, like whether you started the business, whether you're trying to start the business, maybe you don't want to look at your personal finances. And so they're always thinking, I'll just look at it later. Whenever I have more money or whenever I'm ready to start, I'll look at it later. I'll worry about it later. And my biggest piece of advice is just to start now. Start messy. Start before you're ready. There's this great quote that waiting until you're rich to start caring about money is like waiting until you're married to start dating. So don't wait until later. Like if you can learn how to budget or how to invest or how to save $100, then you will be so good at doing it with 1,000 and 10,000 and 100,000. And as it goes up, you will already have those good habits, those good practices in place. And if you've waited until you have all the money, it's too late, right? We need to really start and be proactive now. So my biggest piece of advice is just whatever it is that you have in front of you, whether it's your personal stuff and you're trying to start the business, or maybe you're in the process of starting and you need to figure out how much more you need to get going. Create a budget, start with what you know, start with what you know, then think about what you think is going to happen, your projection of what you want to happen, put those two things together and just start building a budget. At first, it's going to feel messy. It's going to feel unorganized. It's going to feel wrong. It's going to feel like you don't even really know what you're doing. But every time you do it, it will start to feel more comfortable. You will start to get more organized. And you'll almost get excited, I hope, because I'm a numbers person, so I'm like a little bit biased about the excitement, but you can almost get excited whenever you set goals for yourself and you're seeing them happen. You're seeing them not only happen in your life, but happen on paper.
Yes. And honestly, like nowadays, so many of our statements are all online. Like I think I have a budget right here. I love it. Girlfriends. So it's pretty easy to pop into your bank account, your credit cards, anything where you get auto debits come out, things like that, to really pull up, the last month to 3 to 6 month statements, and to go, okay, what seems to be coming out every single month, like that, like jot that down, see what your like base, like what does it cost every single month just for me to like turn on my lights and live in my home. Then I look at like the extra expenditures of like, cable or Netflix or like extra things that I'm like, I pay for you every month, but if you weren't in my life, I would also be just fine as well. And then also just seeing like, where, like, am I shopping? Am I eating out a lot? Like what's happening every month? Because it is nice to see. And then also, what am I spending on my business every month? Because again, this comes back into that scarcity loop. People are so afraid, like you start a business, but then you're so afraid to spend money on your business, and then your business doesn't move forward. And then we're wondering why our business isn't moving forward, but then we're not spending money, but then I spent the money. It's like this weird panic loop that we go into of like this fear about really investing into our business. And then if we don't see that return financially right away, it feels like the business isn't working. And Carly and I talk about this a lot, and the return might come back in your mindset, in your connections, and like, you're planting the seeds, but you haven't reaped the fruit yet. Because there isn't always a predictable outcome of like, oh, I started my business, like, where's my money? It can take time to grow that. So I think that then it's like, well, I don't want to keep investing in my business because it's not paying me. Do you find that will happen?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, we keep talking about this fear, right? Fear of investing, fear of moving forward, fear of starting. And when you create a budget, or whenever you just really sit down and start looking at your finances, honestly, it can eliminate some of that fear and give you some comfort. So whenever you start building a budget out, your business goals and your personal goals are completely aligned. As a business owner, what you need in order to run your personal life, your dream personal life, whatever you want that to look like, directly correlates to how you run your business. So the best place to start is to create a personal budget for yourself. And just like you were saying, go through your bank statements and figure out, okay, what does it cost me to live the life that I'm living right now? What does that cost? How much am I paying for my housing and for all the extras and for food and for gas and for all those things? Jot it all down. Figure out what that total is. Once you know how much money you have coming in and how much needs to go out and then how much is left over, you get to spend what's left over and feel comfortable with it. So what I mean by that is, say now you know how much you have coming in, you've jotted down everything that you know is going to go out, and you have $500 left. Well, I can say, okay, I'm going to spend that $500 in this way, so that whenever I invest it and I go spend that $500, I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, can I afford that? Like, am I going to run out of money? Is my bank account going to go negative? You already know that you can afford it. There's such a comfort that comes with that. And it takes part of that fear away. It's the planning that takes the fear away. It's the planning that pulls you out of that scarcity loop, because you can feel comfortable about every dollar that you spend, knowing that you've planned it out. It's going to work. Everything's going to be good. You can afford it.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're more in control of your own life and your finances. One thing I wanted to know, and it just reminded me of this, my bank account actually now has, like, I deal with a bank that has a really great app, and it shows me the breakdown of eating out and groceries, and it shows me if I've gone over my normal, taking out the amount, right? And so it's really nice. But there's also apps. I don't know if you have any recommendations, but one that I was recommended years ago before I had my bank app was an app called Mint, just like the flavor, like mint. And it was really great and helpful because I could really see, and like it was a bit of like a shocker, like that, like what I was spending stuff on. It broke it down very specifically, and you could go in and like do all sorts of, fine tuning to it. But it just was funny because also when, everything hit with Corona and whatnot, Allie was like, man, I've saved so much money because normally I buy something from Winners and, like almost every other week. And like, wow, you don't realize how much of your finances that you're, just wasting away for like some sort of selfish sort of short-term pleasure. Or sometimes we get addicted to, online shopping. It can be so easy to just add to cart, and you see one quick little blurb about this fantastic little trinket. I mean, I'm the queen of little trinkets, even though I was cheap. Like, I loved those kinds of things. And I was a sucker for as seen on TV things, right? But, what did it really get me? And so I think the whole point of this whole conversation is take control of your finances, start to feel confident and empowered by your finances, rather than just living in scarcity, living in, just this frivolous sort of lifestyle, or this, clutching like I was. And really your finances, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone needs money. Unfortunately, that's like how the world like goes around in a lot of respects. And I feel like we put so much pressure on money to make us happy and everything. And that's not the truth. There's so many things that can make us happy, but at the end of the day, we still need money in our life, and money should be a beautiful thing that we trust and honor and we love and we're not afraid of. And it can do things that bring us joy, because we're able to invest it wisely and really just make smart decisions with it. And I think that so many people feel like it's too late for them. They've been, pegged down by the government or by their circumstances, by their job, by their past debt, by their parents, all these things, when it's like, and they feel out of control. And it's like, no, you can take control of your life now. You can start investing $2 a day or even a week, and imagine how much money you're going to have at the end of the year to maybe invest in something for yourself or pay down debt, whatever you decide. But I just always come back to the fact that, like, at the end of the day, we really do have a lot of control in this area, even though it can seem like a finite number that we get each month for certain paychecks. But really, there's creative ways that we can be earning extra income. There's creative ways that we can be saving our current income and being really resourceful. So yeah, I just really wanted to point that out, because I just think that some people just get lost and overwhelmed and think it's too late for them.
Yeah. And I think I read a great book recently. It's called Your Best Year Ever by Michael Hyatt. And he, when we're talking about, it's a lot about goal setting and how to set goals that you can actually achieve. And when we're talking about goal setting, a lot of times people will compare that to weight loss, because it's something that a lot of people can really understand. But it's that same thought process of, you could start now or you could start in a year, but the results are going to happen that much further down the road. So if you just go ahead and start and be proactive about it, it's not going to be perfect at first. It's not all going to happen at once, but you can do it. And if you just start moving forward, those results will come a lot faster than if you don't start moving forward. And the app that you recommended, Mint, is great. I use it personally, and I recommend it to a lot of people. So I think that that's great. And another small thing that people can do is just to start looking at your bank account almost every day. This can seem a little bit tedious, but if you add it into one of the habits that you already do, like when you're brushing your teeth, you just pull up the app on your phone and kind of look at your account. What that does is it gives you absolute clarity on where your money is going and when money comes into your account. Sometimes something will hit your account and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's a subscription I signed up for that I don't even use anymore. Like, I haven't logged into that account in months. And then you can right then go, or plan to do it later in the day, to go and unsubscribe from it. It just gives you like very real-time clarity of what's going in and out of your account, so that you can make, again, those proactive decisions to help get you where you want to go.
I bought my car 3 years ago, and it came with a Sirius radio subscription from the previous owner had paid for whatever. So it was just in the car. I've had that car for 3 years, and I am still listening to Sirius radio, and I have not once paid for a subscription. That person is
still paying it.
3 years later, paying for my car subscription. And I'm like, do you not? And I wish I don't know who they are. I bought the car off the lot. It came with it. I'm like, and they told me, they're like, your radio will probably run out whenever their subscription ends, and they're still paying for me. And I'm just blown away all the time. I think that I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could contact you, previous owner, and tell you to cancel your Sirius subscription. I'm like, do not look at your bank statements.
They're clearly not looking at their statements. Yeah.
I'm paying for you. So it blows me away. So I think that's so smart. Just even seeing those little auto debits that come out, or little one-time billings. If you don't check in on your finances, and if your finances are your friend, that's how we want to think of our finances. They're like, it's a friend. It supports you. They're there for you. They pay for a lot of things in your life. They're a good pal. I wouldn't feel like a very good friend if I never checked in on Carly. right? Like if I really think of Carly as my friend, I would want to check in on her. How are you doing? I'm touching in every day, every other day, every week, every month. Like I want to check in on her, and I want to do the same for my finances. I want to check in. How are things going in there? What's happening today? Like, oh, okay, that came out. Like it's just being aware and comfortable with your finances so that we don't put it and kind of shove it under the rug like, oh, it's not like this month. Because again, we are successful entrepreneurs, and that's what we want to promote for other people, is to have the confidence to step into themselves and into a business and feel like I have the savvy and the know-how to do it. I have the mindset to be able to build this. And then I also have the know-how to then create generational wealth, because it's one thing to have a really great month or a really great year, but it's like, how do I translate that into a lifetime of wealth for myself so I'm fully set up and engaged in my business? Because that's what we want to really promote, is successful small business owners growing long-term wealth.
Yes.
Now, Ashley, before we wrap it up a bit, but I wanted to ask you quickly, I know we didn't cover really accounting and taxes and a lot of other things that you're an expert on, which I definitely encourage you guys to go follow Ashley. We'll give her links here in a bit. But do you have any quick recommendations in terms of helping people track their taxes or accounting? Is there any apps that you'd recommend? I know my mom talks about one mileage one that she really likes. So there's any go-to, or is it just what your preference is? What would you say?
Yeah, no. So if you are just starting and you are hoping to keep your business expenses very minimal, then the absolute basic is Excel. But there's also an app called Wave, and it's free, and you can connect your accounts in there and you can start tracking your income and expenses. And then when you're ready for something that's like the next step up, QuickBooks is like my favorite thing. I really am a big fan of QuickBooks, but it has a lot of automations, a lot of reports that you can pull. And there's a self-employed version that's pretty inexpensive. And then they kind of build up from there. As your business grows, you can upgrade that account. But having a place where you track it, whether it's in Excel, something like Wave or QuickBooks or something else that you find, having a place that you track all of that information will make taxes so much easier on yourself and on the person that's doing your taxes. Even if that is yourself, if you're doing it through TurboTax or something like that, it'll make tax season so much easier. But it'll also help you create those budgets, monitor your cash flow, and just kind of run your business smoothly. Something that we kind of touched on a little bit, but didn't go super deep into, is that budgeting piece. And if you are someone who doesn't really know how to plan for income because it's not consistent month to month, putting together a budget and a plan. So whenever I say budget and I talk about like a financial forecast, the income portion of your budget is your financial forecast. The expense portion of your budget is how you're budgeting the money that's coming in. So if you have a budget put together and you in 1 month get a large check from somebody, you've made a sale, you will very clearly know how much you need to leave in your account to make sure that you can pay the next month or two until the next round of income comes in if it's not consistent yet. So by having a budget and planning for that, you'll be able to see really clearly how much it's going to cost you every month to keep running your business. To know, it's also a little motivating, like, okay, I got to make some money next month because I know that I've got these expenses coming up. I need to make sure I can cover everything. But those accounting softwares are a great place to do that and really keep it all organized.
Now, and so Ashley is coming to us from the States, and Carly and I both live in Canada. So from an American perspective, because our taxation is different, so Carly and I have shared lots about just different tax things from our side of the line here, but from your perspective, like for our American viewers, anything kind of specific that setting them up in business that could probably differ from what we could advise?
The biggest thing is just to make sure that you are tracking and recording anything that is business related. So that is, a lot of that is like, if you have a personal cell phone that you use part of the time for business, make sure that you are taking that into account and writing off a portion of your cell phone bill as a business expense. Every single one of those write-offs that you claim on your tax return will decrease the amount that you owe in taxes. So keeping track of that throughout the year instead of waiting until like December, January, and then you know it's going to take you a week to go through all of your statements and all of your receipts and try to figure it out. No one has time to do that, especially this time of year. So staying consistent throughout the year and just making sure that anytime you spend money for business, you are recording it in some way so that you can take that deduction is really important.
Mm-hmm. And at the time of this recording, it's December. And so I've always been told that December is such a good time to make any larger investments in yourself because it has, a better tax return. Is that the same in the States as well as Canada?
It is. My suggestion is never to spend money with the sole purpose of saving money on taxes. But if it's something that you're ready to invest in and you're going to do so within the next couple of months, then December is a great time before the year closes to go ahead, spend that money and get that tax write-off in the current year.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I actually, both Allie and I have an active accountant that's like so helpful for us. But I also, and then also for another business that we have shared bookkeeping. But I have bookkeeping for all of my businesses, and I swear, like that was the best. That's the best. Like I think I paid maybe $60 a month. It's such a small fee. Like everyone's gonna differ, but like my bookkeeper is a lifesaver. It was one of the very first things that I invested in my life. So if you're someone who is overwhelmed by your receipts and you've got the money to invest into a bookkeeper, it will save you time. I used to go through and spend so much time dealing with all of my receipts and like doing it all up, making it look nice for my taxes. But now I just send everything to my bookkeeper. She organizes it. She checks in. Hey, what was this for? Do you have a receipt for this? Like really keeps me on track. So just as word of advice, I don't know if you can agree with that, but I think bookkeepers are really great. Once you've started to scale your business and you're having really active incoming, outcoming expenses and whatnot, I feel like it's a really smart investment to make to really free up your time and have a professional take care of the numbers.
Yeah, when you're growing your business, your time is best spent doing what it is that you're good at. So whatever your craft is, whatever it is, whatever the reason is that you got into business, your time is best spent in that zone of genius. So if you are spending hours and hours doing something that you're not good at, no matter what part of your business it is, someone else could take that off of your plate and you can make a lot more money selling and doing what it is that you do best.
Love that. Just as we come to a close here, Ashley, was there anything that we haven't touched on or any points that you think are valid to kind of finale on here for the small biz and budding entrepreneurs that are in here?
I think overall, it's important to know that you don't have to put every single accounting tip and thing in place in your business today. Pick a couple things, start small, pick some habits and start doing them. Once you get good at those, once those feel good and it's really natural, add a few more things, dig a little deeper, try to get a little bit better. If we try to implement too much at one time or try to soak it all in, it's too much and we will stop doing it. Like we'll do it for 2 days and then we will be like, I'm never doing that again. That was so much work. Whereas if we just start small and start implementing those good habits, really start digging into your finances, start the budget, start it messy, and then just, add a little bit more, do a little bit more each time you look at it so that it's not so overwhelming.
Love that. Amazing.
Yeah. So good. Awesome. So Ashley, I know that you have a free resource that you wanted to give out to the viewers. So if you could just quickly explain that. And then after the call, we will put the link in the description so you guys can go and access that.
That sounds great. So it's just really 3 steps to feeling confident in the numbers in your business. And that confidence is all around mindset, planning and budgeting, and then how to look at that information, understand how to use it to make proactive decisions. So like she said, she'll include the link and guys can find me at Pretty Penny Accounting. And I'm an open book. I'm always sharing tips and advice on there. So be sure to check it out.
Yeah, her IG is amazing. And this was such a great conversation. If you guys do have questions or you want more, this is the conversations. These are the times to have them. We want to make this as open and authentic so that it doesn't feel like a taboo topic. If it's like, I don't know if I should invest, or what if I'm in debt, or what if I have this? It's like the more that you can express that out loud, I think that it just really creates a beautiful dialogue that we don't have to be ashamed of past decisions that, oh God, I was swiping my credit card too much, or, oh, why did I buy that thing? Or, oh, for me, I went to school to be a hygienist and then my career ended. I still had that huge student loan, but I've paid that off since, while not even being in my career. It doesn't have to be this feeling of shame or regret around past decisions. It's, I think, a lot about your present self and what you can do today to make a new decision for your future self. So I think as long as we can continue to have these great conversations, we'll all just continue to grow. I love that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if you guys can drop your biggest takeaway from today's call, huge thank you to you, Ashley. And yeah, this was just so much fun. And I'm already thinking of all the things that I need to even get more clarity in. Even though I have a lot of this laid out, I'm like, no, you know what? It could be a lot more clear. We can always improve no matter what level we're at. So thank you so much.
I love it. I had so much fun with you guys today. And thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Bye, guys.